everybody, and welcome. Hey, good morning. I believe you guys should see a poll up there since we just did a NinjaTrader webinar. I just wanted to see if there's how many new people we might have attending today, and hopefully all of you seen our email for the release of version 106C. So that's a unrestricted trial version, or not unrestricted, but the number of days is now unrestricted. So what is restricted is the back testing, the number of days you can back test, but essentially you can now use Bloodhound and practice as long as you guys need. And it looks like there's no poll. Oh, there we go. Now you guys should see the poll. I forgot to launch it. Hey, and good morning, Randy. And good morning, everybody else. So today's webinar, we're going to start off from where we left off last week, which is we're going to be wrapping up hopefully time permitting, we're going to wrap up the final few list of solvers. So if anybody that's just new and missed the last 2 weeks of webinars, we essentially just went through each of the solvers one at a time and just kind of explained what their purpose is, how to use them, some common uses. And today we're going to wrap them up. And then once we wrap this up, I believe we might go to some more themed type webinars. So if you guys have any questions, any kind of like conceptual ideas that you would like to see us show you how to do with Bloodhound, like before we were trying to give some examples on determining trend, determining when when the market is kind of range bound, you're kind of chopping around, various things like that. So if you guys have any ideas that you'd like us to tackle, please send your ideas in. You can use our contact us page and just send us a request that way. So, so let me look at the poll here. Well, it looks like 1 out of 4 of you are new to Bloodhound, and another 4th are just getting started. Okay. Well, great. All right, let me close up that, and we'll start the screen sharing. All right, you guys should be seeing my screen now. Let me minimize this guy. All right, so for you, for the new people attending, this is Bloodhound down here with the green bars. I'm going to take off my chart and start from scratch. So Bloodhound is an indicator, so you just bring up your indicator panel, and I'm going to go down to the S's, and so Bloodhound is under SI for shark indicators, and you'll see there's some other indicators that come with Bloodhound. So there's the chameleon, which is used to input the closing price, the high, the low price, the medium price, the various prices that are available from each bar into Bloodhound. There's a few items that show up that aren't indicators. They're just components of Bloodhound, and unfortunately we haven't found a way to hide them yet, but we're working on it. And let's see, we have what's the next indicator? Market condition, no. I also have the debug version, so a lot more things are showing up on my list than what will show up on your guys' list. We have SI swings, and then the swings high-low, and I think I will have enough time to get through and I'll show you what these indicators do. But for now, let's add Bloodhound onto the chart. Let me double click it, add it down there. And the first thing I like to do is name the template. So this is the Bloodhound interface. You'll see here we have the list of solvers, and you can add a chart, or in other words a higher time frame or an alternate time frame. I guess just to expand upon that, NinjaTrader works better if you have your system running on the lower time frame and pull a higher time frame. So Bloodhound can work on a higher time frame and it can pull from the lower time frame, but the way NinjaTrader exchanges the data back and forth from different time frames, it's not as reliable if Bloodhound is on your higher time frame. So for example, if you're using a 1-minute chart and a 5-minute chart, it's better to have Bloodhound on the 1-minute chart and to pull the 5-minute chart. Alright, so back to the interface and name and providing a name. So you can see the name field is blank here. So I'm going to hit the change button to change the name, and I'm going to go down here and just pick that. That just kind of fills in my name there, a little shortcut. And I'm going to put today's date in there, and it's the 9th, 9/12. So there, now you see the name up there. And if you want, you can provide a description up here. So hit OK. Now you can see the name shows up here in the template field. All right, some other options that are available. The racing stripes. The racing stripes are the colored background or the shaded background on the chart. So you can turn those on and off. You can also turn on a sound alert. So whenever you get a racing stripe or whenever Bloodhound's output exceeds this threshold value, that's when you get either a racing stripe or a sound if you turn your sound on. As you can see, this field is empty, so you do have to go and go pick a sound that you want to use. So I'm going to leave that off. And under signals, let me actually hit OK and put Bloodhound on the chart, and it'll make more sense. All right. So once Bloodhound's on the chart, you'll see this button appears and a pull-down menu. You see the button has the name of our template that we have loaded. I'm going to bring up the interface again, and let me kind of move stuff around. All right, I'm just going to throw up a simple solver here so I can go back and explain that threshold value. All right, so you can just barely see this line here at 0.8 heading across. That's our threshold line, and the other line is right there at -0.8 for the short side. So I'm going to change those colors so they're easier to see. Let me just make them white. And oh, I changed the wrong one. Hold on a sec. Put that, I'll make that a lighter green. And where is oh, no wonder I'm looking in the wrong section. Sorry about that. There we go. Long threshold. Put that on white, make it dashed. Okay, now it's a lot easier to see those threshold lines. So what these threshold lines do, or in other words, so these threshold lines correlate with these threshold values up here. And so these threshold values, this 0.8, is what controls when the background gets shaded. And it would also control when the sound would play. And then if you're using SI Raven, the strategy, then this threshold value controls when the strategy places a trade or exits a trade. Right? So whenever Bloodhound's output exceeds this threshold value, that's essentially when you get a signal for Raven, to place a trade or exit a trade, and for the background shading. So you can go in here and you can change the value and hit apply, and now you can see the threshold value moved up. So, all right, so that's what the threshold value does. The compare long and short, what that does is you won't see it with this simple solver. You won't see it in action, but what it requires is it requires a ratio. So you can specify a ratio here so that if you have a long signal at, say your output is 1, the output has to be 1.5 times greater than the short, right? So Bloodhound can have a long and a short output on the same bar when you get into complex systems. And so if I had a short output along with the long output on the same bar, then the long output would have to be 1.5 times greater than the short output in order to get a signal, in order to fire off a signal. So that, let's see. Yeah, let me create an example here. All right, let's create an example here. Yeah, let's look at bar length. And yeah, so bar length, as you can see, the bar length, it's a non-directional solver. It just confirms that your bar is a certain length, and so you can see the short and the outputs are mirrored. So if your system, has how do I explain this? Well, I guess if a lot of systems, you can have a short output along with a long output at the same time. And well, actually here, let's use this guy. Yeah, here's a good example, the change in slope. So we can see that on this long, let me stretch out the bars here too. Help. And I'll draw an arrow just to pick one of these guys. So we can see on this bar here, we have a long output that's at 0.66, and we have a short output at 0.3. So the so what this compare confidence ratio does is it would require the long output to be 1.5 times greater than the short output on the same bar in order to fire off a signal. So that's what that is for. All right. Okay, so with that introduction, I don't see any questions here. So, and for anybody new, feel free to post your questions. So questions do come first, and if I see some questions, I'll stop what I'm doing and try and answer those. So let me get rid of this. And also just another explanation on these recorded webinars. So we do record the webinars, and let me show you that real quick. So if you go to Bloodhound, go to Learn Bloodhound, and you'll see the webinars here. And this is primarily for you guys who have been watching these recorded webinars. Let me find, yeah, so this automated trading. Some of these webinars, I post up the template files, right? So there's a Bloodhound template file and a chart template file. So you'll notice that some of the webinars don't have a template file. Like, there we go. I think the last, yeah, you'll see this one doesn't have a template file. And essentially, like, if I don't put together a system, then I don't put up the template files. Also, if I'm using a custom indicator, then I don't put up those template files. That way it doesn't cause any errors on your guys' system. So like this indicator here, this regression channel is a custom, so I won't be posting the template files for this webinar because I'm using a custom indicator. And also this is probably just going to be a training, so I would rather you guys actually go and build what I'm showing you versus handing you the template file. So and I might as well take this opportunity to show you some other support areas on the website for you new people here. So if you have a question or any issue, the main way to contact us is under support, the contact us page. And you'll see this form here. You can just fill out this form with your subject and question. We also have a support center through Zendesk. And we went to Zendesk because it has a much better search functionality, and it has these areas that are divided up here. So you can see under tips and tricks, essentially this area, the tips and tricks, is like some tutorials. There's some picture tutorials that we've done in the past, and they're posted up here. If you have any feature requests, you can submit them here to feature requests. And we have a community help support form. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of people in there right now, but I'm sure as once Bloodhound's been around for a while, we hope to get a good community forum going, just like NinjaTrader has on their site. And then if you want to see previous announcements, those are available there. And another bigger announcement. We have released a new version on Monday. So we're now up to 1.06c. So if you don't have that, you can you should have an email with a direct link to download it. If you don't, I would suggest checking your spam folder. If you still can't find it, you can just click on the free download here and just obtain the most current version that way. Some other support areas. We have a documentation section. There's some video tutorials. If you're just new, these video tutorials are great for helping you get started. There's a little quick start guide. So there's the Bloodhound interface, and which we're going to have to update pretty soon. Not much has changed, but a little bit. Some various other tutorials there. Yeah, so Gabor was asking about to review the latest features, review with 106C. Essentially, the biggest change is now there's no 30-day trial. So we removed the 30-day trial, so the trial period is indefinite. On the previous home page, if you remember, the Bloodhound trial was a 30-day period. Now that's indefinite. And so what we've done to allow for an indefinite trial is we put a limit on the number of days that you can backtest. So let me give you an example here. So if I so now you can backtest up to 60 days, and that essentially is the limitation now that we placed on it in exchange for an unlimited trial period. So if I add 61 days onto my chart, it should give me a warning. Although I think in testing I might have licensed my version here. We'll find out as soon as this loads up. And some other things that were done were just some other minor fixes and stuff. Trying to fix some bugs to get the market analyzer working better. So yeah, no warning. So I guess next week I'll put my version back to a trial version, so that way I can show you the warning. But a little warning will come up down in the Bloodhound section, telling you essentially, it just says this is a trial version and you can't backtest more than 60 days. So. But let me put this back to 5 days so it doesn't take as long. So that's essentially it. Unlimited trial, and we're just working on some minor issues with I think the market analyzer and the strategy analyzer. So, see, Han has a question here. Great, Han. Yeah. So Han just commented that he got his trial version after we got rid of the 30-day limitation. Yeah, so we kind of recognize that there's a lot of people out there that are kind of doing this part-time, trying to get their trading going part-time, while working a real job that pays the bills. So 30 days is kind of tough to fully test Bloodhound. So, and we like to try and follow NinjaTrader's model as closely as we can as well. And NinjaTrader has a unlimited trial version. You just can't trade real money with it. And so the same with Bloodhound is you won't be able to place any real trades with Raven. You won't be able to make any what's the right word? You won't be able to trade a live trading account with SI Raven with the trial version either. So, all right. So Gabor wants an example of the backtesting. All right. Well, let me save this chart template first. That way I can load it up quickly. So, and then I'll load another chart template and just give you a quick example. So here's another tip of the day. If you save a chart template with your Bloodhound template loaded up and everything, then you can quickly load up your Bloodhound templates with all your indicators saved on your chart instantly. So the Bloodhound template is saved with the chart template information. I'll give you an example here. So if I load up a template, let's see, there we go, the MA bounce. There we go. All right, that was weird. I had to change instruments in order to get the data to load. So essentially backtesting, one way to do it, if you're working on your system, essentially you're backtesting it in real time with Bloodhound instantly. So, as you have your, you can have the Bloodhound interface up, so you can be looking at your solvers and looking at your logic template, and so every time you make a change, so if I make that kind of a change, right, you can see it in real time. So you can just backtest your system just by scrolling back on your chart. That's one way of doing it. So you can just analyze when your signals are firing, and if you're seeing signals that you're missing, right, you can just go in and create a new solver that will create a signal under different conditions, or you can put filters in and just you can just visually backtest. This is how I backtest stuff, is just visually go through it and look at price action, and if there's trades that I don't like, I just try and come up with new ways to filter those trades out. Like if I was seeing trades occurring in this chop section, which I was when I first came up with this, and the way I got rid of that was, let's see, I believe so. It was these two solvers. So you see all these trades. So this solver up here is essentially, it's the one that's providing the core signal, and the core signal being when price comes to the moving average, when price comes down to the moving average. So you can see that price is hitting up against this moving average quite a lot. And so I needed to create some some filters to prevent this chop, and so what I noticed was what the type of action I was looking for is I'm looking for price to pull away from the moving average and then come down. So I can see, as looking at this, I can see that I wanted price to have at least several bars of movement towards the red line, which is an EMA, towards this moving average. And you can see in here now there's no continuous movement towards the moving average. So what I did is I found a moving average, which is this white line, which is a short period. Let's see, it's the 0 line EMA with a period of 9. That's what the white line is. And so I'm just analyzing that to make sure that there's a couple bars back where that moving average was moving towards the EMA line, the red line. And that's what these two solvers are doing, is they're looking back a few bars and they're looking at the slope. They're looking at the slope of the white moving average line. So I wanted a certain slope as well. So I didn't want it to be real flat coming towards the red moving average. And so, just doing a little testing and adding those on there, and it filtered out all this chop. And of course it filtered out this good trade as well. So oh yeah, so the reason why it filtered that out is because of this. I also wanted to make sure that price was bouncing off of the moving average. So if I remove this solver, you can see I get a lot more signals, but you can see I get a signal also when price just punches right through it. And so I wanted to eliminate, like this guy here. Let me draw a circle. So I wanted to eliminate that where price just punched right through. And I wanted to eliminate this. And so here's this signal right here on this bounce off. But I can see that, eliminating these areas and trying to eliminate them, I was using the bar direction because I wanted to, for example, on this signal right here, let me, oh, wrong arrow. On this guy right here, to get a trade like this to work, let's see, I think that's the one that will show up. So let me plug the bar direction back in. Yeah, so there we go. So what I did is I used the bar direction, and I wanted at least to get a bar moving away from the moving average to actually confirm that price was going to bounce off of it. So this filter, created a 1 bar delay, but it confirmed that price was bouncing away from the moving average. So you can see I got 2 bars moving towards the moving average, and then price fell, confirming the bounce away. And you can see that filtered out these signals here that I had where prices punched right through. But that filter also missed this signal, and it's probably because price punched through. It went past the moving average just probably a little too far. Yeah, I think it just went through a little too far. So it filtered that one out, unfortunately. But Gabor, essentially this is what I mean by backtesting. And of course, if you think you have it good and you would like to actually do some trading backtesting, you can add a strategy, and you can use SI Raven. Just add it to the chart, and let me load up the template that we're working with. Let's see if it's one of these guys here. No, so let me hit the open button. And that'll show me all my templates here, and there it is. So we'll load that one up, hit OK, and I need to select my logic template that I'm using. And I can just put some backtesting parameters in here. Let me do, let's see, I'm using a 4-better Renko. So let's do like a 2-to-1 profit loss ratio. And I'll just leave trailing stops off. So, and turning this off essentially backtests your system in a 24-hour period. Otherwise, NinjaTrader will exit your trade when the trading day ends, at the end of the regular trading hours. So let me just do this real quick, and if you want to see the trades, you turn that on, and it helps if you enable the strategy. All right, and you'll notice here that when you add a strategy to your chart, a second instance of Bloodhound gets put on the chart, and this second instance is from the strategy. So you notice if I go into the indicator list, you'll see the interface or the parameter section looks different, and that tells you that this instance of Bloodhound was loaded from the strategy, and so you can't go in and change the parameters. Whereas this version of Bloodhound is the one that I added first. That's the indicator on the chart, and you can see that I can go in and change my settings here. But you can't go in and modify the one that was added by the strategy. And if you want, so the second instance on here is the one added from the strategy, and if you want, you can go and change the output that's being displayed. And so they both match. And it looks like I need to refresh the chart. Then they match up. All right, so now you can see the trades occurring. All right, so you can see we got a stop out there. All right, so there was a good trade. Let me change the colors here so a little easier to see. Okay, so once you have SI Raven going and you can see your trades are going, then you can do a strategy performance. And wow, look at that. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. So I made a few bucks, and that was only over, let's see, where does it say how many days? Doesn't say how many days, but believe, yeah, I only have 5 days loaded. So anyways, so that's how you can do a performance analysis, and that's how you can check your trades. All right, I see a whole bunch of other questions popped in here. Let's see, so, all right, Doug, with the Bloodhound purchase, is there any allocated support time amount? Good question, Doug. Essentially, regardless whether you're on the trial version or you have the paid version, the full licensed version, we're available to support you, regardless of what license you have. So you're always welcome to set up a meeting with me if that's what you need, and you're always welcome to use the contact us to submit your questions as well. So it doesn't matter which version you're running, you're always welcome to get support. And so if you have a particularly tough issue that or you're need a little training on one or two of the solvers, and you'd like some one-on-one training, you can use the book an appointment with me that way. So I'm available in the morning and late at night for those meetings. And so this will take you to a scheduler that'll allow you to pick a time that I'm available to schedule your meeting with me. So it's a good question, Doug. All right, John's got a question here. Do you believe your back testing results are any more accurate than NTs? NinjaTraders tend to be much more positive than programs run live at the same time period. Let's see, back test run after the fact. Well, John, the simple answer is that Bloodhound is an indicator that runs on NinjaTrader, right? So Bloodhound doesn't do this back testing. It's NinjaTrader's software that's doing this back testing, right? So Bloodhound is, to oversimplify it, Bloodhound is an indicator, and so the indicator is giving these output values that are displayed as a bar type, right? And so this output then gets inputted into SI Raven, and then Raven places the trade, and so that is all run through NinjaTrader, obviously, and so the trade placement and so the decision when a trade gets stopped out or when a trade makes a profit when you're back testing historically, that's all controlled by NinjaTrader's engine. It's all controlled by their software, their logic engine, whatever term you want to use. So you can see here that, like this trade here, short, they got stopped out to the tick. And NinjaTrader, actually, John, I would kind of, well, this when you're back testing historically, it's all in theory because you don't know truly where the bid and ask was. And NinjaTrader provides backtesting in a very conservative mode. In other words, let's say if you're testing on like a 10-minute bar type, where you could have some really long bars. And let me looks like I have something going on with my data feed. Let me switch instruments, see if that helps. All right, let me turn off the strategy here. Sorry for the interruption. Let's see. My data feed should be connected okay. Let's put on the ES. Let's see if that'll load up. Well, I know the ES is running. Oh. Let's change. Why is the data not loading? All right, I'm going to connect to another data feed. And see if that helps. Well, thanks for bearing with me while I try and figure this out. Well, let me close this up and I'll open up a new chart. See if that helps. It's not helping either. Well, I do have a chart up here. So let me continue to explain where I left off. So this is a 15-minute chart, and it's quite a mess. So let me expand the bars here, try and make this a little easier to see. So what I was trying to explain is if you're using like a 15-minute chart where you have really long bars, and let's say you went long here on this long bar, and you have a stop, that's like, let's see, you have a stop that's like, 2 points lower, so your stop would be about here, versus a profit target that's 2 points higher. NinjaTrader is going to take the conservative approach and say that you got stopped out since this price bar, was the range of this price bar was within the range to hit your stop, your 2-point stop. So it's going to take that conservative approach to hitting your stop first versus hitting your profit target. And that's because because this is a historical bar, NinjaTrader doesn't know what occurred inside this bar. I mean, if you're trading live, price could have very well have gone up, hit your profit target, your 2-point profit target, before price came down and could have hit your stop, and then price could have jumped right back up again. Since you don't know what the price action was inside this 15-minute bar, NinjaTrader takes the conservative approach and just says you got stopped out. Now, if you've done a lot of back testing, you'll definitely notice that, I don't know how to explain this, but testing a system live never really seems to work out as well as backtesting historically. I don't really have a good answer for that. It's just kind of one of those weird enigmas. I think a partial explanation is that you rarely get as good of an entry as you do when your system is running live versus when you're backtesting, unless you're using limit orders. But if you're using limit orders to get in when you're trading live, then you might have missed the trade. Price might have just taken off without getting you in. So there are definitely differences between testing your system live versus historical data. So let's see, I think what I'm going to have to do is restart NinjaTrader to get my charts up. So let me shut down, and there's a few more questions. I'll try and get to those while I'm waiting for NinjaTrader to come back up. All right, so let's see. Randy, zero lag EMA. Yes, Randy, the ZL EMA that was on my chart before was the zero lag. Yeah. Let's see, Bob. Try loading a chart without Bloodhound on it. Oh, sorry, Bob, too late. Hopefully restart Ninja will get me going again. Let's see, so Alfred, how you doing, Alfred? Let's see, so Alfred, you've been experiencing a lot of outages with IB account. And let's see. Yeah, well, Alfred, as far as, waiting to get, I guess, a stable data feed, I imagine that's probably what you're talking about. Alfred, I can tell you, I've had friends that have IB as their broker, and their data feed is manipulated. They join trades together a lot. So the volume, if your system is using volume and you're using IB as your data feed, your volume is going to be all messed up. IB reduces the volume significantly. And if your system uses bid and ask volume, IB just it reduces that volume hugely. So IB's data feed, I guess, is good if you don't use volume and if you're like trading with minute charts. If you use tick charts, once again, tick charts are controlled by volume. Right? Ticks are volume, or the number of trades. And once again, IB charts will look significantly different than they would from a data provider that does not filter the data. So that's the word I was looking for. IB filters their trade data significantly, reducing the amount of volume that they provide and the number of trades, or the number of ticks provided. So I just wanted to throw that caution out there for you, Alfred. So I know a lot of people use AMP. It's probably because they have a really good margin price. They have really good prices on their commissions. And their data feed, I'm using CQG, and it appears to be okay. So I don't have any issues with it. But of course, if you use NinjaTrader's data feed, Kinetic, sorry. If you use Kinetic, I'm pretty sure they provide unfiltered data. So that's a good data feed. Zenfire provides unfiltered data, I believe, or at least they used to when I had them. So they're another good data feed provider. So, let's see. All right, so my charts are back up. And let's see. All right, we'll just work with this chart here. And it looks like I left this template in a broken state. Did I? No, it looks good, but I can see here I have, well, yeah, I have several bars that actually meet the requirement. So I've got a down bar, a short bar here, and price was close enough to that moving average to fire a signal there, and it fired a signal there. Yeah, so these are all valid compared to the, this system I got, which is pretty simple. I'm trying to look through the chart here to see if I put the strategy back on, if I might have an instance where I might get stopped out at the same time. I might get a profit. In other words, I'm looking for a really long bar on one of these signals here. And no such luck. All right. Well, let me put my chart back to a 10 range. And I don't see any more questions. You're welcome, Alfred. So I think I'll continue on with today's regularly scheduled training. All right, so let me, so as I was showing you earlier, I saved this chart template so I can quickly get back to today's training lesson. So I can scroll through here and let's see where. There it is. I can load that up. And you can see it put my my regression channel back on the chart. And Bloodhound's back on the chart. And there's no solvers in it. Good. So we're right back where I left off. All right, so I got half an hour left, so let me see if I can, how many solvers I can get through. So where I left off last week was I showed the regression channel position. That's where I left off. So today we're going to start with the channel width. This is a pretty simple solver. So let me make an adjustment to my indicator. So what I want to do is I want to turn the auto scaling on, and what that does, so this is a little NinjaTrader training. You can see how the channel goes off the chart and you no longer see it. And so if I turn the auto scale on, it will shrink the price area. It'll shrink the price panel so that you see the whole indicator, so the indicator doesn't go off the chart. So there we go. And so as I step backwards, you'll see that right now the channel's pretty wide. And let's I'm gonna go forward. Yep, there we go. So you can see how wide the channel is. And as I step forward, you see how the channel is getting narrower, and Bloodhound's output begins to narrow down to, it's almost gone there, and now it's full width. All right, let me scroll back to where there is no output, so we can see it's pretty narrow. So let me kind of explain to you what is controlling this output here. And simply put, it's just controlled by the width of the channel. And those settings, so those settings here are, you know, first start with your channel, with your parameters for the indicator, right? So I'm using a 50 period and a width of 4. And you can see this defaults to ATRs. So you know, ATRs, so if you're using like a tick chart or a minute chart, ATRs help to put the width of your channel in context with the volatility of the price bars, right? So that's what ATR tries to do, is it tells you what the volatility is of your price bars. So if you're using a range chart or a Renko, the ATR doesn't change because the length of your price bars don't change. It will change a little bit because of like hammers. See this hammer bar right here with the very narrow open and close. So that will affect I believe that affects the calculation of the ATR a little bit. So to help visualize what's going on, I'm going to change it from ATRs to ticks, right? Because we can see what ticks are. And so let me see how many ticks there are between this channel here. So we have, let's see, 0.86 to 0.24, so that's about 40 ticks. So let's see, ideal is, we'll put 40 in there, and actually I'm going to make that 60. I'm going to put minimum, I'm going to change the minimum to 40. Change that to ticks, put that to 40. Now as I step forward, right, so our channel is probably at 40, which is the minimum width. So when we're at the minimum width or less, so for less than 40 ticks, if the channel is less than 40 ticks wide, then you're not going to get an output. And as I step forward, right, you can see the channel is beginning to widen. And as the channel approaches 60 ticks, the output is going to get to 1. Bloodhound's output will hit 1. Let's step through this and see what happens. There we go. So let's see, we're at 0.73 to 34, right? So that's 61 ticks. Yeah, so 61 ticks. Well, 1 tick over our 60 tick ideal width, and then Bloodhound's output goes to 1. So whenever the channel width is greater than 60 ticks, Bloodhound's output is just going to max out at 1. So to kind of put this solver in context, it's originally why we created it. To kind of go back how this came about is Jeremy and I were students of Roger Felton, and he liked using the channel width to gauge what the market condition was. So when he would see the channel widening, it told you that there was a certain amount, a good amount of volatility occurring, between these swing highs and swing low points. And of course, as day traders or scalpers, that's what you want to see. You want to see these wide swings from the top, from these high points to low points back up. So if you got a wide channel, that's a good indication that that price recently, historically was pretty volatile between its swing points. And then as you get into this chop right here, you see this narrow chop, the price channel, the regression channel narrowed significantly, and you can see there's no output from Bloodhound, telling us that we're in a tight, narrow trading range. And that's not very good when you're a scalper. You just get chopped up in this stuff. So that's how this solver came about, was to help. It was to be a component of determining what the market condition was. Whether the market had plenty of movement to get your trades in, or whether the market had no movement, as you can see here. So, all right, let's see. I see Alfred's got another comment or question. Let me just take a second, read that. So Alfred, you're asking if you can use another data feed with NinjaTrader. Let's see, and use Raven to manage my entries and exits. Oh, okay. I think I understand what you're saying, Alfred. That, I believe so. So I think what Alfred is asking, now this is really obviously a question better asked or answered by NinjaTrader, but Alfred's, so Alfred has an account with one broker, and he wants better data feed, as I mentioned earlier. So say like you want to use NinjaTrader's Kinetic data feed, but Kinetic is just a data feed, they're not a broker. So if you have a broker, through whatever, AMP or Ameritrade or whoever, and you want better data feed, so you want to use Kinetic data feed, I'm pretty sure, Alfred, that you can set your charts up to get the data for the chart from one data feed, and then place your trades to your actual broker, who would be a different data connection. So Bob is saying yes. So Bob is saying you make the broker the second connection. So that sounds, yeah, right. But I would definitely refer you back to NinjaTrader and ask those guys, specifically how to do that. And in fact, NinjaTrader has training webinars every day of the week, Monday through Friday. So you could join one of their live webinars and ask that question. I'm sure they have a training that kind of talks about data feeds and how to manage those. Or you could look at NinjaTrader's YouTube and maybe possibly find one of their training videos that might answer that for you. And of course, you can use their support forum and ask them directly. So that question has probably been asked many times, Alfred. So I bet you if you do a search on their forum, you'll probably find the answers already been given. So, so I think I pretty much answered this solver. It's pretty simple. So yeah, let me put the ATR indicator on here real quick. Just want to see something. Let's see, where's the ATR? There we go. And let's make this a little easier to see. Let's see, 100. I'm setting the period to 100 because, let me show you, Bloodhound defaults. So if I set this to ATRs, see, Bloodhound defaults to a 100 period ATR. So we can see, I mean, it looks like there's a lot of movement, but if you actually look at the value here, it's 0.101 to 0.102. So really, that is absolutely no movement in the ATR, and that's because I'm using a 10 range, which is a fixed, bar length. Versus, let me go ahead and throw. Let's see, we throw like a 200 tick on there. And of course, with the 100 period, you're not going to see much movement, but with the tick, probably a 5 minute will probably give me better. Yeah, so there you go. That's a little better. So we're going from 0.09 to 0.13 as far as the ATR movement. 14 is the default. So if we use 14, now you can see our ATR ranges from 0.1 to 0.2, 0.25. So so back to my point where this solver by default, let me add that solver on here again. So by default, the solver uses an ATR. So just be aware of what bar type you're using if you're using ATRs in your solver. Right? So 10 range bar type really has no effect on ATRs. So even though it looks like there's some movement here, there really isn't. We're going from 0.1 to 0.01. So, all right, take that off. Okay, let me move on to the next solver. All right, here's a good one. The support resistance. You know what? We only have 15 minutes left. I cannot do this solver justice in 15 minutes. This is a good solver that can do quite a bit, and it can be really useful in your system. So I'd rather start fresh next week with the support resistance solver. So if you're dying to learn about this, there are some recorded webinars that, I've already gone over the support resistance solver before in previous webinars. And also, if you want to get a little practice in before next week, if you go to the website, and well, actually better yet, let me just here's another improvement with 106 is on the help menu here. You can see there's some quick links, and it'll open up your web browser straight to our website. So let me pull that over. So Chrome, Google Chrome is my default web browser. And so it took me straight to the Bloodhound's documentation page. And we can go down to the support resistance solver. And if we jump down to examples, right, there's a whole bunch of examples I put here. I think this solver probably has the most examples on our documentation, just because it is fairly versatile, and is definitely a good tool to have in your system to keep you from taking. Actually, let me pull up another one of these other screenshots here that's in headwind mode. Let's see. Yeah. This one, yeah, I was trying to explain headwind mode. So this is a good solver to help you out with understanding headwind mode. So this solver, like for it can keep you out of taking a long trade into a resistance line, or it could help you, prevent your system from taking a short right into a resistance line. If price is close to a resistance line that you may be using in your system. So this is definitely a good solver to have in your system to keep you out of taking trades, that into a resistance line that's close by. So let's see if there's any other questions. I don't really see any other questions. So with that, glad you guys asked some questions. So I always say those questions come first. And for for you new people that we have, I have a Skype account that I use for shark indicators. Let me just sign in so I can show it to you here. All right, so if you guys are using Skype, feel free to add me as a contact. My Skype name is Zach White, SI. SI is for Shark Indicators. And so if you see me online on this account, then that means I'm available for instant chat and instant support, whatever whatever help you may need with Shark Indicators. So so there you go. There's my Skype account. So feel free to add me if you're using Skype. So let's see. Looks like a few more questions popped in here. So John, looks like you have a suggestion. In the future, when changing away from ATRs to ticks, or will the option of median Renko or other Renkos become available? well, the option of, well, John, to me, a median Renko, you know, Renkos are a bar type, whereas an ATR is an indicator, and ticks, you know, ticks really is a, it's not really, that term is not really a bar type or an indicator. A tick just means a trade took place, right? A tick comes from the old, you know, ticker tape, the old ticker tape machine, right? So when the ticker tape machine, when a trade would take place, it would print out that trade. So a tick just means a trade took place at a certain price. It doesn't tell you what the volume is. It just meant that a trade took place. So, you know, ATR is, you know, so all three of those are different items, right? So an ATR is an indicator that's gauging the average true range, so an average true range of the bar, whereas a tick just tells you a trade took place. So when you put up a tick chart, right, you're just counting every 200 ticks. A bar is worth meant, every bar meant 200 ticks took place within that bar. A volume chart, you know, a volume chart is the same thing, but it's counting volume, not the number of ticks. And a Renko, well, a Renko is a mathematical way of calculating price action, right? So if you change your chart to a Renko, then what you're doing is you're just calculating price movement, right? So the bar can only move so many ticks before a new bar forms. So those are different things, John. So you know, but well, some of the solvers. Maybe this is what you're kind of getting to. Some of, so I think probably maybe what you're asking about this is the Renko bricks. You know, I'm trying to think. I'll see if I can figure out a way to visualize that on the chart. You know, in order to explain that measurement type, I'll have to figure out a way to visualize that on the chart. Otherwise, it's kind of complicated to try and explain. But you know, essentially, what that's doing is, let's see, distance. So, you know, just as you have ticks for measuring movement, you could also have Renko bars to measure movement. And then you can see the Renko bars here on the chart. So it really gets I guess, hard to understand how this is working. So say I had my solver set to, you know, to use Renko bricks, but I decided to have my chart use a 10 range. You know, that could get really complicated in trying to figure out, you know, what exactly the solver's analyzing when it's looking at a Renko brick input versus looking at a range. And also, as you could probably, you're thinking that, you know, there's definitely the bars would be out of sync with the Renko bricks that the solver's using. You know, so that really gets hard to kind of explain. But you know, as kind of a short answer, when you're using Renko bricks, you are, let's see, the solver is using this Renko formula to calculate the movement. So yeah, so see who has that? John. Yeah, John, I'll try and see if there's a way I can show this on the chart so it can be visualized. See if I can come up with that for next week. Let's see, Randy. Thank you, Randy. Thanks for the comments. Let's see, Han. Let's see, I loaded Bloodhound but didn't see it. I see SI Raven in the strategy but no shark indicator. Okay, so Han, let me bring up my indicator list. So Bloodhound, so it shows up as Bloodhound on the list, but on, when it's on the chart down here, but in this master list of all the indicators on your system, Bloodhound is down in the S's. So look under SI Bloodhound. So, and you may need to restart NinjaTrader in order for it to appear. So, yes, John. So the Renko bricks, right? It's just a variation of, well, this Renko brick doesn't, it doesn't always refer to price action. So just keep that in mind. So it depends on the solver. But yeah, like I guess for the support resistance solver, it would be referring to price action because this Renko bricks is in the distance targets. So we're measuring the distance to our support and resistance lines that are being used for this solver. Yeah, so in this case, yeah, this Renko brick does refer to price movement. So, so Doug is asking how to save logic settings. Logic settings. Okay, well, in the Bloodhound interface, essentially, whether you're just using the solvers only with no logic, or even if you have a logic, the template file saves everything all together. So the Bloodhound's template file saves everything that you see in the Bloodhound interface. Right, so this system doesn't have a logic template. That's right. Yeah, this is just the workshop one today. But when you close the interface, whenever you hit the red X, Bloodhound always saves the template file. Every time you hit the X to close the interface, it always saves it. If you just wanted to make sure, you can always go over to File and hit Save, and that'll save it as well. So, yeah. So I guess it's a good thing to be aware of. So if like you're testing your system out, and you're on the Logic tab and you're moving leaders around and whatnot, and you hit the red X thinking it'll cancel and undo what you did, it actually won't. Closing the window will save everything that was just done. So let's see, a few more questions here coming through. Okay, good, Han. Glad to see you got Bloodhound on there. Yes, Han, there is a previous webinar. So when we launched Raven with I think it was 104, maybe it was 105, version 105 of Bloodhounds when we launched Raven or included Raven with Bloodhound. And so there is a workshop webinar where we dedicated to Raven. And it's right here. It says workshop automated trading. So this automated trading workshop back on July 12th. So this webinar, this workshop is dedicated to Raven. So that should give you all your answers. Well, one thing to note with 106, yeah, so this is another improvement we did with 106. Let me get Raven up here, is now this managed trade. You can now use an ATM. So now you can type in your saved ATM template in there. So if you're not familiar with using an ATM template, once again, I'd refer you to NinjaTrader's training, to attend one of their training workshops or watch one of their videos on YouTube. They do have a workshop dedicated to using the DOM, their super DOM or their dynamic DOM, and creating and saving ATM strategies. So, or not strategy, but saving in ATM. So this is one of the new additions to Raven that you won't see on that workshop that I just showed you. So this workshop here for Raven will show you everything but using the ATM, because at that time it didn't have the ATM implemented yet. So all right, let me see, get through some other questions here. And so Han is asking, can I comment on SI Chameleon? Yeah, I'll go back to that, Han. So let me bring up my indicators. And so you'll notice that there are some other SI indicators. There's a few that don't do anything. They're actually they're components of Bloodhound, but and we had to implement them as indicators, but we don't have a way to hide them. So I can add Chameleon to the chart, and essentially what Chameleon is used for is allows you to take price data and implement it into the solvers. But you can also put it on your chart. So you can see that the high, and let me change my bar type here. And I lost the coloring. So it's kind of hard to see, yeah, with the black background. It's kind of hard to see, but you can see the high. You know, there's a plot that's connecting the high points and the plot that's connecting the low points. So what Chameleon, what it was created for, was it allows you to take the high prices, the low prices, you know, whatever price value you want, and implement them into the solvers. So, for example, if let's see. Let me. I'm going to save this template again. Save my chart template so I can bring it back. And once again, I'm not going to post this chart template up on the website because I'm using a custom indicator on here, and it'll just create issues for people. All right, so I'm going to load up that previous MA bounce system, and I'll give you an example of using SI Chameleon. All right, so this solver here is the main solver that's providing my signals, and then the rest of these solvers essentially are filters. All right, so I called it the high-low, and I'm comparing the high and low to the EMA 55. All right, so what I'm doing is when I'm getting a signal, I'm looking at the low. So if price is above the EMA, I'm comparing the low price to the EMA to make sure that the low is within range of this EMA to provide a bounce. And you can see here that for indicator A, instead of looking, I could look at the closing price, but sometimes the closing price doesn't get close enough. Sometimes it's the tail of the bar. In other words, the low that comes close, and right here's a good example. All right, so the close is way down here, but the tail of the bar is like within 1 or 2 ticks of the EMA when price bounced off of that EMA. So what I did is I'm using SI Chameleon. So I have SI Chameleon as my indicator, right? And for long trades, I'm looking for the low. I'm looking for the low to be within a certain number of ticks of the EMA for a long trade, and I'm looking at the highs, the high point over here, to be within a certain number of ticks for a short trade. So that's what SI Chameleon is for, so you can use price points within your solvers. All right, so then I'm comparing the high and the low to the EMA 55 to provide these signals. And so if I just take this solver, plug it into the result node, so now you can see whenever the high or the low is, I think I'm using 3 ticks. Yeah, so whenever the high or low is within 3 ticks of the EMA, you can see Bloodhound's marking that on the chart here. Right, so that's what I'm looking for. And then I took all of these main signals and I just filtered them out with these other solvers. Let me go back to the indicator list. So some of these other indicators here, hopefully you guys don't see the debug. I think you see the displacer. That's a component that's used inside of Bloodhound. It's not actually an indicator, so it won't do anything on your chart. I don't think you see that one. Remember, I have the debug version, so things show up on mine on my list that won't show up on yours. Let's say I don't believe you have that one. You don't have market condition. Price marker. I think once again that's an internal method for Bloodhound. SI swings, that is an indicator. You can add that, and that will show up on your chart. So you can see it's putting this higher lows, double tops, double bottoms, double top, double bottom, higher high. So it's this indicator is used with another solver, so I'll go over that next week when I get to the last couple of solvers. That's what this indicator is here, is to help you visualize how that solver is working. And let's see, what else do we have here? Another good one is the swings high-low. Let me remove that and apply. So if you're wanting to analyze price action, this indicator, you can see the lines here. Essentially, this indicator is similar to NinjaTrader's swing indicator. Oops. So if I put the swing indicator on here, right? So the swing indicator is, keep double clicking. Sorry about that. Right, so you can see that the dotted plots are, this is from the swing indicator, and you can see how the plots match up, pretty similar. And so Bloodhound's what's it called here? The swings, highs, lows, essentially is taking that indicator, but extending the plots out so that it can better be used with Bloodhound. So it's just kind of a modified version of the swings indicator, but it also has some extra, an extra filter built into it, and a member of Big Mike's, called, his screen name is Dorshand. He actually wrote the core engine for this swing, and so you'll notice the one difference is there's this percent difference. So this indicator, so this SI swings high-lows indicator also has this percent difference. So what that does is that requires a certain amount of price movement to occur before you get a new swing point, right? So NinjaTrader's swing indicator, it just counts bars. It just says, so after 5 bars, you know, look for a new high point. And it doesn't take into consideration price movement. So when you're in this area here where there's a lot of chop, you can see that NinjaTrader's swing indicator marked high and low points, but Dorshan's swing indicator has the potential to ignore these very low volatile swing points. So that way you're not getting as many signals as the swing indicator would give you. So so I think that kind of goes through the indicators that come with Bloodhound. So let's see, essentially it's Chameleon is an indicator, SI swings and SI swings high-lows are the indicators. Everything else is kind of it's an internal method or programming used by Bloodhound. And when we find a way to hide those from your list, we will do that. So, all right, let's see if there's any other questions before I wrap this up. So Han has asked, how do you open the Bloodhound interface? Okay, so Han, once you add Bloodhound to the chart, you'll see this button up here. So after you add Bloodhound as an indicator, you get this button up here. Click on the button, and there's the Bloodhound interface. So once again, Han, I would suggest taking a look on our website. If you go to the Learn section and go to the video tutorials, I would suggest watching the Bloodhound interface one, just to get you started, to help you out there. So, and I think if I bring up the interface, let's see, help, Yep, there you go. So from the interface now, you can do it's got a link here to the website, to the video tutorials for you. All right. Okay, well, thanks, guys. It's 1/4 after, so I need to wrap this up. And this webinar has been recorded, so we'll try and get it up there by the weekend. Okay. Thanks, guys. Thanks for attending, and we'll see you next week, where next week we'll continue. We'll start with the support resistance solver. This is a good one, a good one to learn. It's probably the most complicated solver that we have as well, but it's usually very useful though in your system. So hopefully next week we'll get through these last 3 solvers here. So, all right, guys, have a good rest of your week. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.